Hey there, Fit Fam. Welcome to the only podcast where we're breaking the mold and rewriting the rules. I'm here to debunk the myths, spill the tea, and serve a hefty dose of reality. No matter where you're at in your journey, we've got something for everybody. So buckle up because we're about to unleash the basics in the most unapologetic way possible. From shedding pounds to embracing your inner badass, I'm here to remind you that skinny is so last season and the basics are anything but boring. So grab your favorite piece of protein and your water bottle and get ready to be empowered, entertained, and educated because being a basics bitch has never looked this good. Hello there and welcome back to another episode of Don't Call Me Skinny. Super excited to be here with you today. This is going to be a fucking fire episode. Yes, I'm already amped up about it. Yes, I'm very excited. First, I want to tell you guys that I have 2 spots open for one-on-one coaching. So the wait list is on. You can click the link in the show notes and enroll if you're interested. Fill out the application and then we can get you, we're going to see if we're a fit. That's the number one thing that we're going to do. And then from there, we are going to get you enrolled and get you going. So 2 spots for one-on-one coaching here coming up, as well as group coaching is always, it's an evergreen model. So you can hop into group coaching at any time. I'm excited that I'm going to be having some ladies that are in group coaching, some that have been there from the start, some that have only been there a couple months. They're going to be on the podcast to kind of explain really the purpose and how things run and work in group coaching and why it's so incredibly beneficial for them. Yeah. And then I have some other things that are coming down the pipe that I'm super excited about. And some of this is what I want to talk about in my podcast today. Not the exciting part, but this fire that I've been missing for probably quite some time. So I'm going to dive into this piece. All the links are in the show notes if you need something. There's also that TDEE calculator if you are unsure if you're consuming the right amount of food, the right amount of protein, all the things. You can click that TDEE calculator and that will give you some idea. It gives you a nice big email and it could be overwhelming. I'm just going to be honest about it, but just take what you need from that email and go with it. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this. I have had a complete epiphany over this last week. And for those of you that are new here, welcome. Hi. For those of you that are not new here, last June or July, I think it was June, I actually did a podcast called I'm a Fraud. And I will give a brief synopsis about this because that podcast let people into a little piece of my own life, okay? And my own journey of this. So almost 2 Novembers ago now, I hired a coach to help me bulk. And bulking means that you're putting mass on your body. However, a bulk should be done methodically. It should be done over a long period of time, like we're talking 12 to 24 months, okay? And we should really only gain no more than I would say over the course of 12 to 24 months, maybe 5 to 7 pounds. We're talking, it should be very meticulous, very slow, very methodical. Okay. And I'm just going to be super honest that I added over 1,000 calories a day into my food, in less than 3 months. And I put on 30 pounds in 3 months, which is a lot. Okay. Too much, too fast, too soon. And a lot of it, unfortunately, even though I was moving weight and I definitely put muscle mass on, was fat. My clothes didn't fit. I went up 2 sizes. I had to go buy new shit. Nothing fit. I felt uncomfortable. And it led me down to this path of feeling like a fraud. And the unfortunate part is during this time, there was so much other change happening in my life. My husband quit his job and came home. My kids were transitioning into high school. We were transitioning out of elementary into middle school. There was so much that was happening in my life during this time that I really was just very down. I was just very down. And I got into these very self-sabotaging behaviors, essentially, is what I was doing. I didn't want to check my food. I didn't want to drink water. I didn't want to do these things that I knew that I needed to do. And I couldn't figure out why. Why did I not want to do these things? They used to be so second nature to me. I had lost 80 pounds. I maintained the weight loss for over 4 years. It's only 30 pounds. It's not the end of the world. I can do this. But I didn't actually believe that. Okay. And I had this really brief moment on Thursday at the gym. And everything I've been trying to do the last 4 months is emulate the very beginning of 8 years ago. I went back to the same training program that I was doing, trying to eat the same foods that I was eating and the same, almost, now I wouldn't say the same macros because I'm not quite at that place, but understanding why and really trying to get back into tracking macros, which I've been doing now over a month, very consistently, very proud of myself. Okay. And so then this last week, I thought to myself, man, I really want to go back to this spot where my husband, before I started training, because, I was going to get bulky like a man, I was afraid to touch a weight, yet I had no problem carrying 250 pounds on my body, but God forbid I pick up anything heavier than a 10-pound dumbbell because, well, that's going to make me look like a man. That was my logic. That was my thought process, even though it's completely untrue. So I went back to this place where my husband used to program me, and he used to program me these things called hub and spoke. And think about a wheel, and you have the hub of the wheel, so the center of the wheel, and then you have all the spokes that come out of it, okay? And think of like a bike, like a bike wheel. Like that's kind of the spokies that, sometimes you put those little plasticky things on, or you put your water bottle between, it goes tick, 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 tick when you arrive. Okay, anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about that, but so the hub, the main, is like this one exercise that you do for either a certain amount of reps or a certain amount of time. It's very much can be like a HIIT routine. It also can be more of a conditioning routine. It doesn't always have to be like crazy jumping around and all sorts of whatever. So last Thursday, I texted my husband and I said, create a hub and spoke for me. Like for some reason, I was just like, hey, I want this thing. Recreate this thing that you used to do for me all the time. Again, I'm trying to emulate my beginning because I'm missing something. I'm like, something isn't clicking. Something's missing. Something is, I don't know what. And so he did. He gave me this little hub and spoke. They were kettlebell swings. And then my spokes were like bicep curls, squat, overhead press, and what are those called? Russian twists, right? So I had 4 spokes. My hub was kettlebell swings. So I do the swings, squat, swings, bicep curl, swings, overhead press, swings, Russian twist. And I would do this every minute. I did EMOM every minute on the minute. And that's what I did. Cool. Okay. And during this process, I shit you not, I'm having this moment where I swear out of nowhere, I'm like, that's it. Oh my gosh, this is the thing. Oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing the last year. This is why I can't, quote, get my shit together. This is why I, quote, fell off and can't get back on the horse. This is why. And it hit me like a bag of rocks, whacked me on the side of the head. And I thought, wow, this is nuts. This is crazy. That it took all of this, and it wasn't the hub and spoke, okay? It wasn't the hub and spoke. What it was the feeling. It was a feeling. And that feeling was the belief in myself to actually accomplish the task. The belief in myself to actually do the thing. 8-9 years ago, there is nothing that would have stopped me. You could hit me with a motherfucking train, and I'm still going to show up. I was still going to show up. Right now, in the last year, I'm giving every fucking reason to self-sabotage, every reason not to show up. Oh, well, my life is different. Oh, well, my this is different. Oh, well, this is the... I'm giving myself every excuse, every reason as to why I can't do the thing. This is why I can't do it. This is why I can't do it. When the reality is it has nothing to do with my ability to do it. It has everything to do with my belief to do it. If I don't believe that I can do the thing, then it doesn't matter. And I literally did a podcast on this at some point in the last 3 months, I think, that said, you are your beliefs. You are. If you don't think you can, then you can't. That's just the truth. Or if you don't think you can, then you can't. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if I said that wrong. If I did, my apologies. If you think you can, then you can. That's just it. Now, I can walk around and say, oh, I think I can do it. I can do this. I can do this. But if I don't believe that, if I don't deep down in my belly, in the depths of my toes, really truly believe that I can do it, I can't. And all of a sudden, for some reason, I did my workout. It was a leg day. I got smashed. And then I had my husband give me this hub and spoke. And I was like, yeah. And so I started doing this hub and spoke. And something inside of that space flipped a switch, lit me up, lit a fire. I don't fucking know. Call it what you want. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I can't pinpoint the exact thing. Besides the fact that it was a feeling. And I got that same unstoppable feeling, that same, a freight train could hit me right now and I'm still coming back. I'm still going for it. I'm still doing it. Now, when I look at my history and I look at my patterns in my life, it makes sense now after processing this for almost a week, after telling my red, white, and booty challengers, first to know, my group coaching program, first to know, and now I'm doing a podcast about it. So if you're a podcast listener, you're the third to know. But when you look back at my history, it makes sense why I fell back into that pattern, why I fell back into the belief that I couldn't do it, why I fell back into this self-sabotaging bullshit behavior. Okay. It makes sense. And I'm going to explain this to you because I want you to really think about your own behaviors and why you do things. This is all part of the process. And you're not getting out of this fucking shit without doing this piece. You're not getting out of here. Okay. It's just not happening. So when I was a kid, okay, I was the youngest of 4 kids. And, somebody in my Red, White, and Booty Challenge actually brought up the fact that, is it because you were the youngest that you felt this way? I'm not actually sure. Maybe time and again, it does have something to do with it, right? But when I was younger, there was always a time that I had something and it got taken away from me. Always. And I'm not going to go into super depth about my family or my siblings or anything like that. But every time I had something good, it got taken. Okay? I get married. I have kids. Guess what? It gets taken. I mean, that's how I felt, right? Gets ripped out right from me. Have this thing, it gets taken, right? What I realized is that I could no longer, after I gained those 30 pounds, I had an 80 pound weight loss by my fucking self. Did it on my own, figured it all out. And I'm going to toot my own horn for that. And there's nothing wrong if you can't do that. By the way, I didn't have a choice because I didn't have somebody like me that was there to fucking help. I didn't have a choice. So I had to fucking figure it out on my own. Okay. So I'm going to toot my horn about that. But that's why I'm helping other women figure this out way quicker than I did. Okay. So I had an 80 pound weight loss. I had maintained it for 40 years until I didn't, until it was ripped from me, until I quote unquote allowed it to happen. And I allowed myself to stay in self-sabotaging ways because it gave me a reason as to why it happened. It gave me a reason to say, see, it's just the pattern in my life. See, every time I get it, it gets taken. See? And when I gained those 30 pounds back, quote unquote, knowing better, quote unquote, I'm a trainer, I'm a coach, I shouldn't have done that. I should have spoken up. I should have XYZ. I couldn't. My body was like, no, this is what happens. This is your norm. And even as shitty as it feels, and even as fucked up as it is, because it's fucked up, as shitty as it is, it's the truth. It's what I know. And so that was comfortable, even though it's not necessarily what I wanted. I didn't want to put on 30 pounds. I wanted and hired a coach to take me through this process that literally I did not trust myself doing on my own. I didn't trust myself doing it on my own. That is why I hired a coach, and in turn ended up in the situation I didn't want to put myself in. Which I probably, honestly, looking back, I don't know, maybe I would have done better on my own. I have no clue. I really don't have a clue. So, but it was not easy for me to stand up for myself. And I talked about that in the last podcast. It's like, I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't. And the why is because I didn't believe in myself to do this again. So I just continue to let it happen. Nope. See, you are just the girl that loses weight and puts it back on. That's who you are. See? That's who you are. Oof. That's just who I am. And I allowed that to be my story. I allowed that to self-sabotage. I allowed that to be who I was because I didn't know how to believe in myself that I didn't have to be that. Because every time I've had something, it gets taken away. Every time I get something, it gets taken away. So why not just fucking allow it if it's just what's going to happen anyways, you know? And again, during this entire year, it was a rough year for me in relationships. It steeped into my relationships, whether it was with my husbands. I have one, just a single husband. I can't handle more than one. That's for fucking sure. Cause they're snoring, just like driving me crazy. So whether it was with my husband, whether it was with my friends, family, my relationships were suffering because of this piece. So, and again, here I am trying to self-sabotage my marriage, literally telling my husband, maybe I'm just a 7-year wife. Maybe that's all I am. Maybe I'm just a 7-year wife because that's how long my last marriage lasted, was 7 years. So I went through this whole process of like grieving for whatever reason this year. This last marriage is like, oh my gosh, can I even make it past 7 years? Because I've never done it before. I don't even know. So I'm just going to tell my husband, maybe I'm just a 7-year wife. Maybe after this year, you're out. You're probably going to leave. I'm just a 7-year wife. Why? Because that's my experience. That's what happened. When shit got hard, when things got tough, my ex-husband went elsewhere. He went looking for things elsewhere. That's what happened. So, shit, even when shit wasn't hard, he went elsewhere. That's a whole different body gas, but whatever. The point I'm making here is it's my pattern. It's what my body knows. And because it's what my body knows, it's what, regardless of how terrible it is, it's what's comfortable for me. It's so good for me. It feels right because it's what I know. And it's just my story. So on Thursday, when this thing hit me out of nowhere, I started talking to myself in the middle of the gym. I'm walking around in circles like, this is it. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, this is it. This is the thing I've been missing. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? This is the thing that has prevented me the last year doing what I want to do? You kidding me? This is nuts, right? So you have to understand your history matters, your experience matters. All these things matter. But what matters most is whether or not you believe that you are capable. If you believe that you can do this. If you believe it's even possible for you to achieve. Because I'm going to tell you this. If you're looking at how far you got to go and you're like, I'm never getting there. You're right. Girl, you are right. You're never getting there. And I said this on the last podcast, and I always fuck it up, and I always mix it up, and I always say it's wrong. But whatever Thomas Edison or Henry Ford or whoever this guy was, please let me know who it was. Either you think you can, or you think you can't. And either way, you're right. Because it doesn't fucking matter at the end of the day. If you don't think that you can do this, if you don't even think that it's possible for you to do, it doesn't matter anyway. You're right. You should just stop. And that sounds harsh and that sounds terrible. Or you start digging into the why. Why don't I think this is possible? Why do I always end up here? Why do I always self-sabotage? Why do I always fall off? You know, this was something that we talked about last night in the Red, White, and Booty Challenge. Each week they're getting a content call. Last week we talked about the basics. This week we talked about self-sabotage. Next week we talk about emotional eating. Okay. The point is there will always be a reason as to why you either choose to do something or you choose not to do something. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it mean something about you, but there's always a story behind it. There is always going to be. And if you follow me on social media, I mean, if you don't, you need to go hit the follow button. But if you follow me on social media, lately I have been talking and posting about how I don't quote unquote look like another trainer. Okay. And there's a reason why I feel like I've had this complete epiphany is because I'm calling it out at this point. Like the internet is wild. Okay. The internet is absolutely fucking wild. And everybody's commenting on everybody's bodies. I mean, there are people who absolutely are fit and they're getting literally raked over the coals because they don't have shredded abs. I'm like, that's not even remotely healthy to have 24/7, 365. This is not even normal and healthy. Okay. And so it's like, I was going to call myself out before somebody else got to call myself out. Does that make sense? Right? So listen, you're not going to be the one that tells me that I have fat on my body that I don't want. I'm going to be the one that says, I'm aware that I have fat on my body. Thank you. I don't need the fucking internet to tell me this. Right? Now, at the same time, I'm still showing up every day. I'm still putting in the work. And to sit here and try to create this facade that fucking coaches are these perfect humans that I always talk about, wake up every day like fucking rainbows and sunshines and hop out of bed and like, oh, 5 a.m., go to the gym, 5 a.m., go to the gym. And then they go eat their egg whites and their chicken and their rice. And then they go on a walk and then they go. No, social media is feeding you a bunch of motherfucking bullshit. If that's what you think us coaches do. Because real coaches who live a real life, okay, don't live in a gym. They don't wake up excited at 5 a.m. every fucking day to go to the gym. They don't. This morning, my husband got home from work at 5:20. My alarm went off at 5:40. I wanted to spoon my eye out. I wanted to spoon my eye out before I even did anything. In order to not get, if I could have spooned my eye out as opposed to getting out of bed, I think I might have considered it, highly considered doing it. Okay. But the truth is that I don't have a day today where I can do that. So I have I had check-ins that I had to get done this morning. I have to get my podcast recorded that I had to get done for tomorrow so that you guys can hear me bitch about all my shit. And talk about all my stuff and hopefully help you. Like that's the whole fucking point, right? I have a call with my OBM in 15 minutes. I have an appointment at 2:00 for some really hopefully exciting news that I'll be talking about next podcast. And I'm supposed to have date night with my husband tonight. I don't have time to fucking sleep in. I don't have time. If I want to get to the gym and if I want to make that happen, I had to get it up. I don't even have time to take my kids back to the gym. I'm not going to have time to go back and get my walk. So I literally did my training session and my walk, which meant I was there for a lot longer than I really wanted to be because I had to make sure I was getting in steps. It's 10:45 a.m. I got 6,500 steps. Went on a 30-minute walk. And I was like, hopefully the rest of my day, I'm going to get in enough movement that it will give me the rest of what I need. I'm hoping. So the point of all of this is like, we are human beings as coaches. I have personally been struggling and I was very clear in both of my, my group coaching call. I talked about this a little bit in my Red, White, and Booty challenge, the whole self-sabotage. That was the entire topic of what we talked about. And I have been in my head so much this last year to 12 to 15 months, honestly, at this point. It was affecting my business. It was affecting my relationships. It was affecting my health. And I allowed it to do those things because even though it was painful and even though I'm uncomfortable where I'm at currently, it's what I know. And it just gives me that reason of like, see, this is your story. And it gives me comfort in knowing like, oh, it's validation. Okay, this is my story. But I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be your story, just like it doesn't have to be my story. I can now look at this from a perspective and go, okay, I now see this. And it's a problem for me personally. Now, if you look at your situation, you're like, it's not a problem. Okay, that's fine. I'm looking at mine from, it's a problem for me. What am I not getting? Like what is missing here? And I've been digging and digging and digging and digging and digging and digging. And I finally found the thing that is my problem. I'm choosing to do something different. And I kid you not, when I say it hit me like a bag of rocks in the head, the switch that flipped for me was insane. The switch on my belief in my ability, the switch on my belief of sticking to my shit, the switch on my belief on not trying to fudge my numbers in my macro calculator and fudge my numbers. Oh, it's fine if I only walk for 20 minutes today. Like, no, you need 30 minutes and sticking to my shit. Like, if this is what you want, this is what you have to do today. So just fucking do it. Remember that you believe in yourself, that you can do this. That's it. Thank you. Okay. That's right. I do believe in myself. It matters. Your belief will drive your behavior. If you believe that you can, your behaviors are going to do the things that show you that you can. If you believe that you can't, your behaviors are going to drive you away from the thing that you want. The question becomes, are you driving closer or are you driving further away? And why? Do you actually believe deep fucking down? I'm talking about go into the pit of hell of your stomach and feel it, see it. Do you believe it? That you are for this? Do you believe that you can do this? Do you believe that it's even possible for you? Because if you don't believe that, that is the first shift that you have to make. And that takes a lot of fucking work. This is the shit that I do. This is the shit that I help people with. And yes, you can sit there and say, well, that's interesting that you're helping women do that, yet you don't believe in yourself. Yep. And I'm going to say again, we're all motherfucking human. We are all motherfucking human. I am a human being. I fall into patterns. I have not had some like fucking roses and sunshine life. Was my, childhood terrible and awful? And did I get beat? No. Is that somebody else's story? Absolutely it is. It could be yours. I don't know. It wasn't mine. But there are a lot of little things. And a lot of my stuff actually resolves more around my siblings than it does like my parents and that kind of thing, the environment that I lived in. Even my husband and I told you we're going on this date night thing, right? And I've been wanting to take him to this new place just to go try it. And he wants to go to this new place. And I told him, I don't want to go. And he was like, why? And I was like, I don't know. I'm anxious about it. He's like, you're anxious? I'm like, yeah. I don't know why. It's just I don't know anything about it. And what if it's not good? And I've been having, for some reason right now, which it's not always how I've ever been, but I'm having like a hard time going to this new restaurant that's not even a big deal. And it's like, oh, okay. Here's what I know. I'm not actually nervous about going to the restaurant necessarily. There's something else underlying that is saying, hey, I don't think this is a good idea. Hey, my body is telling me, maybe this isn't what you should do. There's something. I don't know what it is. But we're going to go. We're going to go do the thing. He's like, we're going to go. We're going to walk in. And if you like literally feel like you're going to vomit, if you feel so uncomfortable that we just leave. We'll just fucking walk out. It's fine. There's no harm, no foul. But let's just like go and walk in and see what happens. I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can go and I can walk in. Because I have the out of, if I have to leave, we can just leave. And I can't pinpoint it, right? Instead of getting pissed off and mad and angry at myself, I really need to dig into this. And now here's what I'm going to tell you. I would say this is kind of abnormal behavior for me, but over the last 4 or 5 days, I have been unpacking this whole belief in myself. Is it the fact that I'm anxious about going to this new restaurant that I've never been to? Or is it the fact that I maybe have been really on point with my food, and I'm afraid maybe that this will fuck it up and make me backslide a little bit. I don't want that to happen, even though it's not what I teach my clients, because that's irrational. A meal isn't going to make you backslide unless you allow it to. So again, it becomes like, do I believe in myself that I can go have this meal? And it becomes that piece of it. Is that why I'm anxious? I actually don't know. I don't know if that's the reason. But I get to be a human being, and I get to try to figure it out, and I get to make it mean nothing about me as a person, as a wife, as a mom, as a coach, as anybody. And I just get to, it doesn't have to make it mean anything other than just what it is at surface level. Man, I'm anxious about this. Okay, let's acknowledge it. I'm going to take that anxiousness, I'm going to put out in front of me, I'm going to look at it and be like, okay, cool. Awesome. Hey, anxious. I don't know why you're here, but you're trying to tell me something, so okay. Instead of getting pissed off about it, I just don't get why I can't just go out. What's wrong with me? That's how you get into self-sabotage. That's how you start to dwindle that belief in yourself. Okay? So there's a lot in this episode. And this is not me trying to unpack anything on you guys. What I'm trying to do is showcase how this process actually is, and what people are not showing you on social media, and what people are not talking about, what people are not telling you. I can give anybody macros and a training program. That's fucking cool. Kudos. Great. Wonderful. Here's your fucking macros. Here's your fucking training program. But if we don't fix all the other shit, that shit doesn't matter. It just doesn't. It just doesn't matter at all. And it'll never get quote unquote fixed. You'll never get it right. It'll never be for you. It'll never work for you because it has nothing to do with your macros. It has nothing to do with your protein. It doesn't even have anything to do with the food. It has everything to do with yourself. And that is shit that nobody wants to talk about, shit nobody wants to work through because it's fucking hard and it sucks. But it also is so fucking empowering to do. So if that sounds like shit, that's what I need. I have 2 spots open, one-on-one. We do this in group coaching. It's just at a different pace. It's at a different level because it's public, right? So it's all about what you're willing to share in that space. Now, if you're willing to come in as an open book, group coaching could be a really great fit for you. My ladies that are in group coaching love group coaching. It's awesome. They show up for themselves. It's amazing. They lean on each other. It's awesome. That's what group coaching is. Community, leaning on each other, that kind of thing. One-on-one coaching is a lot more intimate. It's a lot more back and forth, me and you. Okay. So I feel so much better because I get to share that. Because I'm hoping that one person, if you are listening to this right now, and you are the one person that says, oh my God, that is me. Oh my God, she is talking to me. I am her. She is me. This is me to a T. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. Okay? On that note, you guys, catch you on Friday. No filter. Thanks so much for listening today. If you laughed, learned, or just felt a vibe, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Your support keeps this ass train chugging along. If you're ready to embrace the basics with a twist, follow me on social media. Links are in the show notes, and let's see the ways we can work together. All right, basics bitches, you're not just listeners, you're part of the revolution. Remember, skinny's out, basics are in, and you're looking damn good doing it. So until next time, stay basic.